In the beginning, before the shadows of rebellion stretched across the firmament, heaven itself shimmered with purity and harmony. The vast expanse of the divine kingdom echoed with the voices of angels, each created to serve, to worship, and to carry forth the will of the Almighty. Radiant beings moved in order, singing hymns that resonated like rivers of light flowing endlessly toward the throne of God. Each note declared His majesty, His dominion, and His boundless wisdom. Heaven was flawless, radiant, perfect, until a spark of desire ignited a fire that would never truly be extinguished. Have you ever wondered what it means to fall from perfection? What it takes for a celestial being woven of light and duty to look away from the glory of the Creator and towards something forbidden? The story of the first fall is one wrapped in mystery, carried through whispered traditions and embedded in texts that many would call forbidden. It is a tale of angels who turned away, of desire that corrupted, and of judgment that forever changed both heaven and earth. It is not merely an old myth, but a cautionary reminder etched into the human soul, a story of temptation, consequence, and an eternal struggle that touches us even now. So before we begin, take a moment to like and subscribe, only if you truly enjoy exploring these mysteries with me. For what follows is not for the faint of heart. Sit down, dim the lights, and prepare to listen. The harmony of heaven begins to tremble when some of its brightest lights, the watchers, behold the earth below. From their high places, they look upon humanity still innocent and unshaped by corruption. They see the daughters of men, radiant in their simplicity, clothed not in power or majesty, but in the raw beauty of flesh and spirit. Desire stirs within them, a strange yearning foreign to the pure essence of angels. What begins as a glance becomes a temptation, and what begins as temptation becomes a decision that ripples through eternity. The Watchers were not minor angels. They were mighty, entrusted to watch over mankind, to protect, and to guide. Their very name suggests vigilance, guardianship, and presence. Yet their gaze shifts from guardianship to possession, from protection to lust. They speak among themselves, whispering words that carry both awe and rebellion. Let us take them as wives, they murmur, as though the sanctity of heaven could be mingled with the earth's fragile clay. But with this desire comes fear. Each knows that such an act defies the Creator's design. Angels were never meant to unite with mortals. To transgress would not only break their own purity, but fracture the order of creation. It is then that their leader, often remembered as Semjaza, steps forward. His voice carries the weight of decision. I fear you will not agree to this deed, and I alone shall bear the penalty of a great sin. Yet one by one, the others declare their oath. They will not allow one to fall without the others. On the great summit of Mount Hermon, they bind themselves together with a curse, swearing to pursue what heaven has forbidden. No longer servants bound in loyalty, they become conspirators in defiance. Heaven watches silent as the covenant of rebellion is forged among those who once sang closest to the throne. It is a tragic irony. The very angels set to guard mankind are the ones who step down into corruption. What begins as desire transforms into an invasion. They descend to the earth like stars torn from the sky, radiant yet tainted, bearing not blessing, but ruin. As they descend, the earth shudders beneath their presence. Humanity, still untested, sees these shining beings take form among them. To the daughters of men, they are powerful, radiant, desirable beyond imagination. To the sons of men, they are terrifying beings of authority and strength beyond human measure. The natural order begins to bend, and in the bending comes fracture. The angels take wives from among the daughters of men. From this unholy union come offspring, unlike any the world has seen, giants mighty and violent beings, whose very existence breaks the balance of creation. These are the Nephilim, towering figures, whose hunger and wrath spread fear across the earth. They devour the fruits of the land, the livestock of the fields, and eventually even mankind itself. What began with a glance has now birthed a terror that consumes the world, and still the corruption spreads. For the fallen angels in their descent do not merely take women, they also bring forbidden knowledge. They teach men how to forge weapons of war, to draw blood with sharpened blades. They teach women the art of cosmetics, how to paint their faces and adorn themselves with ornamentation, stirring vanity and lust. They reveal secrets of enchantment, divination, and astrology mysteries that mankind was never meant to wield in such corrupted form. Knowledge once pure in the hands of God becomes poison in the hands of the fallen. What was meant to serve becomes an instrument of destruction. Humanity, which should have grown in harmony, now learns war, vanity, and sorcery. Blood soaks the ground, and cries rise up to heaven. The earth, once innocent, now groans under the weight of corruption. Animals, too, are twisted by unnatural unions and violence. Creation itself is fractured, and the beauty of the world is stained with darkness. The children of heaven have broken the boundaries of eternity, and mankind pays the price. And yet, even in this fall, there remains a whisper of prophecy, a glimmer of God's promise. For judgment cannot be delayed forever. Heaven watches, and the throne is not silent. Soon, the messengers of God will rise. Soon, justice will descend like fire. But for now, the story rests at its turning point. The Watchers have rebelled. Mankind is corrupted, and the earth trembles beneath the weight of angels' disobedience. It is the first fall, a wound that will never fully close, and one that sets in motion the eternal struggle between heaven and earth, between God's order and the rebellion of pride. The descent of the Watchers marks a wound in creation that spreads like fire across dry fields. Where once the earth breathed in harmony with its maker, now every breath is tainted by the shadow of forbidden knowledge and the roar of unnatural offspring. The Nephilim, the giants born of angelic rebellion and human flesh, stride across the land with insatiable hunger and violent pride. They strip the fields bare, consume herds and flocks until nothing remains, and when the land no longer satisfies, they turn against humanity itself. Men flee from their villages. Mothers clutch their children. Fathers weep powerless against beings whose very size makes them gods among mortals. The cries of the people rise up, not as a hymn, but as a lament. Blood stains the rivers. Bones litter the valleys. The once protected children of the earth now plead for deliverance from the very angels who were meant to guard them. And heaven, silent though it seems, is not unmoved. For every cry pierces the fabric of creation, reaching the ears of the Most High. The Watchers meanwhile revel in their corruption. They do not merely sow violence through their monstrous children, but also through the secrets they have unleashed. Azazel, one of their number, is said to have taught men the art of forging swords and shields, of fashioning knives and spears, giving mankind the power to shed blood with sharpened steel. It is not long before brother kills brother and tribes rise against tribes. Weapons gleaming in the sun cut through flesh that was never meant to feel the sting of such cold-crafted death. Semjaza, their leader, bestows other teachings, incantations, enchantments, and the pathways of sorcery. Women learn from him arts of adornment, how to manipulate beauty, how to stir desire with painted eyes and jeweled ornaments. Vanity, once unknown, becomes a weapon as dangerous as any blade. Barakiel and Kokabiel whisper secrets of the stars, teaching astrology and the reading of signs, leading men to trust the heavens' patterns instead of the Creator's voice. The sacred order of knowledge fractures, and humanity meant to walk humbly with God now wanders into the labyrinth of false wisdom. It is not only mankind that suffers. The corruption bleeds into the earth itself. Beasts are twisted plants poison the very soil scarred. The balance God created trembles on the brink of collapse. The angels' rebellion, what began as desire, now spreads through every corner of creation, like rot beneath the bark of a tree. But heaven does not remain distant. The archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, look upon the devastation with sorrow and resolve. Their hearts burn with loyalty to the throne and compassion for the afflicted. They rise before God, carrying the cries of humanity like incense before his seat of judgment. Michael, the great commander, speaks of the violence that defiles the earth. Gabriel recounts the corruption of flesh, where both beast and man have been twisted beyond recognition. Raphael pleads for healing, for the restoration of what has been defiled. And Uriel, bearer of light, demands that judgment fall swiftly upon the watchers. The Almighty listens. His voice, when it comes, is like thunder, rolling over mountains and seas, a decree that shakes both heaven and earth. The angels who rebelled will face eternal chains, bound beneath the earth in darkness until the day of final judgment. Their offspring, the Nephilim, will find no mercy. Their spirits, once their bodies are destroyed, will wander the earth as restless demons tormenting mankind until the end of days. What was born of rebellion will never find peace. Before this decree is carried out, however, God chooses a messenger. Enoch, a righteous man who walks so closely with the Lord that he himself will one day be taken into heaven, is called to bear the message of judgment. He is lifted into visions where the secrets of the watchers are revealed. He sees the hidden places where stars keep their appointed paths, the fiery storehouses of the elements, the deep abysses where punishment awaits the fallen. His spirit trembles, yet his words are firm, for he carries the sentence of God to angels who once believed themselves untouchable. Enoch descends with the weight of heaven's judgment on his lips. To the watchers, he declares, "You shall have no peace. Your judgment is sealed. You have left the high holy place for corruption, and now you shall be bound in darkness until the end." The angels, who once gleamed with light, now shudder before the voice of a mortal, for it is not his authority, but God's that speaks. Azazel, singled out for his corruption, is condemned to be cast into the wilderness, bound and buried beneath jagged rocks, his face covered in darkness, so that he may never again see the light. The mountains themselves will serve as his prison until the day fire consumes him in the final judgment. The others, too, will be bound in silence, their once radiant wings now shrouded in chains of eternal despair. Yet even as judgment is spoken, prophecy weaves its thread through the tapestry. For the corruption of the watchers is not only a punishment for them, but a foreshadowing of humanity's own struggle. Just as angels fell through desire, so too will mankind wrestle with temptation. Just as forbidden knowledge brought ruin, so too will human pride lead to towers of arrogance, kingdoms of blood, and idols of stone. The story of the Watchers is not merely theirs. It is ours, reflected back to us as a warning. And yet within the judgment, a promise glimmers. For God declares that He will one day send deliverance, a great flood, to wash away the corruption of the earth, and beyond that flood, a greater Redeemer who will crush the power of rebellion forever. The chains of the Watchers prefigure the chains of all evil. Their doom whispers of a day when even death itself will be bound. Still, the weight of judgment lingers heavy in the air. The fallen angels, once majestic, now crouch in terror, knowing the verdict cannot be overturned. Humanity corrupted, yet beloved, waits for deliverance. And the earth, groaning beneath the strain, longs for cleansing waters to wash away its grief. Thus, the descent of the Watchers does not end in triumph, but in sorrow. An unholy covenant shattered by divine decree, a rebellion met with chains, and a world left scarred by the touch of heaven's fallen children. The earth is heavy with sorrow. What once blossomed with harmony now trembles under the weight of violence and corruption. The cries of the innocent rise like smoke into heaven, and the groaning of creation itself testifies against the fallen. Every tree, every river, every creature feels the tremor of a world unbalanced. Yet heaven does not leave the wound to fester. Judgment has been spoken, and now judgment must be carried out. The decree of the Almighty thunders across creation. The archangels descend wielding not swords of vengeance, but the authority of God Himself. Michael moves against the proud and violent, leading the heavenly host to strike terror into the giants. Their towering forms, once invincible in the eyes of men, collapse under the force of heaven's will. Flesh that seemed immortal bleeds, cries of agony echo in valleys, and the Nephilim fall one by one, leaving behind spirits too twisted to find rest. These disembodied shades, denied a place in heaven and cursed upon the earth, will become the demons of later ages, restless, hungry, seeking habitation in the hearts of men. Gabriel is sent to turn the hearts of humanity back from the abyss. He strikes at the roots of corruption, guiding the destruction of the giants' offspring and severing the spread of their bloodline. Raphael is commanded to heal the earth, to cleanse it of the poison the Watchers have sown, to restore balance where violence had taken root. And Uriel, the light-bearer, delivers to Noah a message of hope. Prepare for the cleansing flood, for through you humanity shall be preserved. Azazel, the corrupter, faces his sentence. Bound hand and foot, he is hurled into the desolate wilderness, buried beneath sharp stones and covered in eternal darkness. His brilliance is extinguished. His power chained, his legacy marked only by ruin. The other leaders of the rebellion meet a fate no less terrible. They are cast into the depths, into caverns of darkness, where chains of fire bind them until the great day of judgment. No hymn rises for them now, no light shines upon their faces. Silence and sorrow are their companions. And yet, though judgment falls swiftly, humanity is not left without deliverance. Noah, a righteous man, finds favor in the eyes of the Lord. His family becomes the vessel of survival, the ark the womb of a new beginning. As the fountains of the deep burst open and the heavens release torrents of water, the corruption of the Watchers and their monstrous offspring is washed away. Mountains disappear beneath waves. Valleys become seas. The cries of the giants are silenced, and the earth baptized in water begins again. But the story does not end with water. For though the bodies of the Nephilim perish, their spirits remain wandering as disembodied forces of malice. The Watchers remain bound, imprisoned, until the day of final reckoning. And humanity, cleansed though it is, carries within it the memory of rebellion. Knowledge of sorcery, of violence, of vanity, these seeds, once planted, are not so easily uprooted. The story of the Watchers becomes a warning etched into the collective soul of mankind. The judgment of the fallen angels is not merely an ancient tale. It is a prophecy of what will come again. Just as pride led the Watchers to fall, so too will pride lead kingdoms and empires into ruin. Just as forbidden knowledge brought corruption, so too will humanity's hunger for power and secret wisdom open doors it cannot close. The flood was not the final judgment, but a foreshadowing of the day when fire, not water, will cleanse the earth. And yet amid these warnings, glimmers of hope shine through. The promise of a Redeemer, one who will not only cleanse, but restore, grows clearer through the ages. The Watchers fell because they turned from God's design. Redemption comes when humanity returns to it. The chains of the fallen whisper of the day, when Satan himself will be bound, when rebellion will find its end, when God will dwell with man, and every tear will be wiped away. The meaning for us listening now is both solemn and urgent. We live in a world where rebellion still echoes, where temptation still whispers, where the restless spirits of corruption still seek to lead astray. But the story of the Watchers teaches that no rebellion goes unseen, no corruption lasts forever, and no power can stand against the decree of God. It warns us of desire that blinds, of pride that corrupts, and of knowledge twisted into poison. But it also assures us of deliverance, of healing, of a future where order and light will prevail. So we look back at that first fall, at angels who turned away from glory for the fleeting allure of desire. We see their judgment, their chains, their sorrow. We see humanity bruised, yet preserved, scarred, yet chosen. And we hear the whisper of prophecy telling us that the story is not finished, that one day the heavens and the earth will be renewed, and the rebellion that began with the Watchers will finally be silenced forever. The tale softens now, its edges blurred like the fading of twilight into night. The thunder of judgment gives way to the quiet hush of reflection. The Watchers, once radiant, remain bound in silence. Their rebellion, though long past, lingers like a shadow cast across the ages. It is a reminder that even the brightest lights can fall, and that the purest places can be scarred. In the stillness after the flood, the earth begins again. Green shoots rise from the soil, cleansed by water. The sky clears, and the rainbow arcs across heaven, a promise fragile, yet unbreakable, that never again will the waters destroy all flesh. For a moment, creation breathes in peace. Yet beneath the surface, memory endures. Humanity does not forget. The whispers of the Watchers, though silenced, echo faintly in the hearts of men. And perhaps that is the truest lesson of all, that the battle between light and shadow is not confined to heaven's rebellion or to ancient giants. It lives within each soul. Desire, pride, and the lure of secret wisdom are not only the downfall of angels, but the daily struggle of mankind. Each heart carries its own Mount Hermon, its own choice to remain faithful or to descend into ruin. But there is comfort too in this story. For just as judgment was swift, so was mercy present. Even as angels were bound, humanity was preserved. Even as the Nephilim fell, Noah rose. Even as corruption spread, God's promise of redemption endured. The fall of the Watchers becomes not only a cautionary tale, but also a testimony of divine faithfulness. For though creation was marred, the Creator did not abandon it. As the centuries rolled on, the memory of the watchers faded into whispers, hidden in texts preserved by few, spoken of only in hushed tones. Yet the meaning remains clear. Rebellion ends in chains, but faithfulness leads to life. The giants of pride, of violence, of corruption still walk among us in spirit, but they cannot prevail against the hand of God. Their doom has already been written, so let the listener take this to heart. When temptation whispers, remember the watchers. When pride swells, remember their chains. When the world seems consumed by corruption, remember the flood that cleansed and the ark that preserved. And above all, remember the promise, the rainbow that arches still, the Redeemer who has come, and the future where rebellion will be no more. The story fades now into stillness, the images soft as candlelight flickering low. The watchers remain imprisoned, the Nephilim silenced, and humanity continues its journey under the gaze of heaven. The lesson is not of despair, but of vigilance, not of hopelessness, but of promise. For though the first fall wounded creation, the final restoration awaits. So close your eyes and let the echoes of this tale settle into your soul. It is more than myth. It is memory warning and promise woven together. And in its quiet ending, hear the whisper of eternity. God's order will prevail, and His light will never be extinguished.